On behalf of National Institute for Certified Educational Measurements and our National Project Program for International Assessment of Adult Competencies in Slovakia, which is associated with PIAAC OECD, we, Olga Zelmanová and Zuzana Wirtz, as researchers of this project, would like to present Knowing Teacher Skills in Slovakia, summary of research results of lower and upper secondary teachers. So our main goal of this study was to grasp deeper view of competencies of Slovak lower and upper secondary teachers aged up to 65 years using OECD tool Education and Skill Online, and then to recommend Ministry of Education how to improve educational lifelong training of teachers. We focus on two main areas, cognitive skills and non-cognitive skills. From cognitive skills, we examine literacy, numeracy, and APS. And it's important to know that these cognitive items, including existing PIAAC items and 40% newly developed items. From non-cognitive skills, we used behavioral competencies. It was personality assessment consisting of 208 statements, which provided 13 personality traits and 5 dimensions of Big Five questionnaire. We also included career interest. This assessment consists 60 items from all interest profile short form questionnaire and provides 6 RIASEC profiles. And then we also included career intentionality. This assessment consists of 26 items, from which we focused on job seek, active steps in job seeking, and job fit. So our Slovak sample consisted of 2016 voluntary teachers, from which 47 were lower secondary and 53% were upper secondary teachers. And from upper secondary teachers, 2/3 were vocational upper secondary teachers, and 1/3 was the teachers from gymnasiums, basically academic general upper secondary teachers. And among all teachers, we had nearly 4 times more women, 78%, compared to 22% of men. And also average age of all teachers was 43 years, which was comparable with age of another international research such as studies. So cognitive skills of teachers by type of schools. It is important to know that score of cognitive items in Education and Skill Online is comparable with PIAAC cycle 1. We found out that all voluntary teachers in this study had high cognitive skills in all 3 domains, and they were higher than adults with university education from cycle 1. In comparing lower and upper secondary teachers, we found out that teachers in all 3 domains, that teachers from gymnasiums, achieved the highest score.
Cognitive skills by age and gender of all teachers. Regarding age and gender, no statistically significant differences in cognitive skills were found between lower and upper secondary teachers. So we present age and gender on joint sample of all teachers. Looking at the graph with age groups in literacy and problem solving, we found out that teachers have these skills stable up to 55 years. And then there is significantly decline in the oldest age category. In numeracy, teachers from 45 to 55 years scored significantly higher than other age categories. And the youngest teachers scored comparably with the oldest teachers. There is no age acceleration. Gender comparison of cognitive skills has shown that men tend to score higher, but significantly higher. It was only in numeracy when gymnasium teachers scored significantly higher men than women teachers. Behavioral characteristics of all teachers. As we can see on the graph of all participating teachers, preferred mostly behavioral competencies such as organization, self-discipline, assertiveness, collaboration, diligence, and responsibility. And least dominant characteristics were inquisitiveness, stability, and friendliness. Regarding Big Five behavioral dimensions derived from these 13 characteristics, we can see that dimensions consciousness was the most preferred by all teachers, and less dominant were emotional stability, extraversion, and openness to experience. Statistically significant differences between lower and upper secondary teachers were manifested in characteristics: inquisitiveness, intellectual orientation, stability, and diligence. Upper secondary teachers preferred more of these characteristics. Lower secondary teachers, on the other hand, preferred more generosity. When we look at the differences in big five dimensions between type of school, we can see that the dimension agreeableness was more preferred by lower secondary teachers, and dimension openness to experience and emotional stability were more preferred by upper secondary teachers. Gender differences showed that women preferred more diligence, organization, responsibility, friendliness than men. Men preferred more inquisitiveness, intellectual orientation, and stability in terms of coping with work stress and work priorities. Looking at gender differences through big five dimensions, significantly more preferred by female teachers were consciousness, extraversion, and on the other hand, men preferred more openness to experience and emotional stability. Behavioral characteristics were not differentiated and connected to the age. Analysis showed only two significant differences between younger and older teachers. It was responsibility, which was more preferred by oldest teachers, and assertiveness, which was more preferred by youngest teachers. The big five differences between younger and older teachers are in dimensions: consciousness, more preferred by older teachers, and extraversion, more preferred by younger teachers.
So correlations of cognitive skills with behavioral dimensions were manifested similarly between lower and upper secondary teachers, and this graph therefore represents correlations of whole sample of teachers. We can see positive correlation of behavioral dimension openness to a new experience with all cognitive skills, meaning that higher the scores of cognitive skills are, stronger is the preference to openness to new experience. We can also see negative correlation of extraversion with all scores of cognitive skills. And there is also one positive correlation of consciousness with numeracy. These findings are also in line with existing research of cognitive skills and personality traits on general population. So another important area relevant to teachers' job satisfaction and the quality of job performance was teachers' career interest. We were keen to find out which career interest profiles dominated in our sample of teachers and how did they differ by type of schools. Among all career interests, the most dominated profile was social, followed by artistic, and then least preferred was realistic profile. Regarding differences between lower and upper secondary teachers, significant difference was found in realistic and conventional profile, which were more preferred by vocational upper secondary teachers than other teachers. And these findings can be explained by more technical orientation, focus on material by vocational upper secondary teachers. On the other hand, we also found out that teachers from gymnasiums were more investigative than other teachers. So career interests were RIASEC profiles by age and gender. We found out that there were no statistically significant difference by age, and in gender differences, we found out that male preferred significantly more realistic profile than women, and women teachers, on the other hand, preferred more social, artistic, and enterprising profiles. So besides cognitive, behavioral characteristic, and career interest, we also analyzed career intentionality to better understand what factors influence teachers' decisions to actively seek another jobs. There was no statistically significant difference in seeking new job between lower and upper secondary teachers. 55% of all teachers express low level of conducting active steps in job seeking. Regarding age difference, we found out that teachers up to 34 years old show highest level of taking active steps compared to all the age categories, 45 to 55 years and 55 to 65 years of age. Gender analysis showed that male teachers showed higher level of taking active steps compared to women teachers. So basically, active steps in job seeking were taken predominantly by young teachers and males. So next, we examined several relationships, job fit and RIASEC, and job seek and RIASEC. So high level of job fit was linked with social and artistic profiles, which were most dominant profiles by our sample teachers. Lowest job fit was, on the other hand, among teachers with realistic and conventional profiles. And looking at the relationship of job seek and RIASEC profiles, we found out that the high level of active job seek was associated with realistic and enterprising profiles, which were actually the least preferred by our teachers. So one important factor that influenced level of activity in job seeking was wage. We look at active job seeking teachers' relative wage compared with wage of university educated people, and we found out that more than half teachers from districts where the average wage was lower than 70% compared with average wage of people with university education, teachers were more active in seeking new jobs. But when the average wage of teachers was higher or comparable with wage of people with university education, significantly lower percentage of teachers took active step of job seeking.
Key findings and implications for policymakers in Slovakia. First, teachers' main personality characteristics were organization, self-discipline, assertiveness, collaboration, and diligence. Less dominant were friendliness, stability, inquisitiveness. Lifelong training and education of teachers should emphasize behavioral characteristics such as inquisitiveness, creativity, and intellectual orientation, especially in times of new digital era and online education. Second, the youngest teachers didn't achieve significantly higher cognitive scores than older teachers. No age acceleration. So it's very important to make teaching profession and status of teachers in Slovakia more attractive, so we can have the best possible students in teaching profession. Third, active steps in job seeking were taken predominantly by young teachers and males. Teachers with higher job fit showed lower level of active job seeking. Wage was also linked with active steps of seeking new job. In districts where wage of teachers was significantly lower than average wage of people with university education, teachers seeked for new jobs more actively. To reduce fluctuation, it would be helpful to adjust wages of teachers. Fourth, it's important to attract more men in teaching profession because men manifested lower job fit, high level of active job seeking. Men showed higher preference to inquisitiveness, intellectuality, and stability, and also more inclined to technical skills. Having more men as teachers can more motivate students for technical, scientific areas of studies. Thank you.